The 2005 UPA College Championships have been intense. Defending national champion Colorado fought off an inspired challenge by UC San Diego to reach the championship match. The 2005 UPA College Championships have been intense. Defending national champion Colorado fought off an inspired challenge by UC San Diego to reach the championship match. Today, the country's number 2 and 3 ranked teams will throw everything they've got into a chance for the title. It's West Coast versus East Coast. Stanford, Brown, next on CSTV. The 2005 UPA College Championships have been intense. Defending national champion Colorado fought off an inspired challenge by UC San Diego to reach the championship match. Today, the country's number 2 and 3 ranked teams will throw everything they've got into a chance for the title. It's West Coast versus East Coast. Stanford, Brown, next on CSTV. High-flying action in the state of Oregon. The Willamette River Valley plays host to this year's Ultimate Championships as CSTV presents the 2005 UPA College Ultimate Championship. The 2005 UPA College Championships have been intense. Defending national champion Colorado fought off an inspired challenge by UC San Diego to reach the championship match. Today, the country's number 2 and 3 ranked teams will throw everything they've got into a chance for the title. It's West Coast versus East Coast. Stanford, Brown, next on CSTV. High-flying action in the state of Oregon. The Willamette River Valley plays host to this year's Ultimate Championships as CSTV presents the 2005 UPA College Ultimate Championships. Today's semifinal matchup features Brown University's Brownie in Motion against Stanford University's Bloodthirsty. Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Delaney and welcome to Corvallis, Oregon, where the temperatures and the conditions for Ultimate are very difficult. The wind has picked up extreme and the temperatures have plummeted, but the two teams very used to difficult conditions. They are some of the best in North America. Let's start off with Brown University's Brownie in Motion. They have got a standout lightning bolt, number 2, Josh Zipperstein, the Callahan Award winner, basically the Heisman Trophy of Ultimate. Strong team there. But Stanford University brings a few standouts themselves. How about this name? Nick Handler, number 11. He's got accurate throws, some of the best in the business, and you're going to need that in these crosswinds. Let's get right to the action. Let's look at some of the format here. With me, the director of disc dialect, Kyle Weisbrod.
Thanks, Kevin. This is the 22nd annual College Ultimate Championships. The first champions were Stanford University in 1984. They're going at it again this year. Both teams have battled through.
The 2005 UPA College Championships have been intense. Defending national champion Colorado fought off an inspired challenge by UC San Diego to reach the championship match. Today, the country's number 2 and 3 ranked teams will throw everything they've got into a chance for the title. It's West Coast versus East Coast. Stanford, Brown, next on CSTV. High-flying action in the state of Oregon. The Willamette River Valley plays host to this year's Ultimate Championships as CSTV presents the 2005 UPA College Ultimate Championships. Today's semifinal matchup features Brown University's Brownie in Motion against Stanford University's Bloodthirsty. Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Delaney and welcome to Corvallis, Oregon, where the temperatures and the conditions for Ultimate are very difficult. The wind has picked up extreme and the temperatures have plummeted, but the two teams very used to difficult conditions. They are some of the best in North America. Let's start off with Brown University's Brownie in Motion. They have got a standout lightning bolt, number 2, Josh Zipperstein, the Callahan Award winner, basically the Heisman Trophy of Ultimate. Strong team there. But Stanford University brings a few standouts themselves. How about this name? Nick Handler, number 11. He's got accurate throws, some of the best in the business, and you're going to need that in these crosswinds. Let's get right to the action. Let's look at some of the format here. With me, the director of disc dialect, Kyle Weisbrod.
Thanks, Kevin. This is the 22nd annual College Ultimate Championships. The first champions were Stanford University in 1984. They're going at it again this year. Both teams have battled through pool and bracket play to make it here to the semifinals.
So deep teams on both sides of the field looking to face Colorado Mama Bird in the championships. Who will it be? The coaches rally their troops. The lineup for Bloodthirsty: James, Kenigsberg, Wiseman, Handler, Sherwood, Herbert, and Schiff. On the other side of the field, Brownie in Motion. The speedster Zipperstein, Bowman, Hopkins, MacArthur, Arnold, and the Vandenberg brothers. Watch out for those two, both towers of power on the field.
It's pretty windy out here with Paul Vandenberg pulling for Brown, upwind to Stanford in white, Brown in red.
So you're looking at the center line there of this field. It's 40 yards wide, a 70-yard playing field, 25-yard end zones on either end, so a lot of open room. Our first play contested right there. This is called the spirit of the game.
And Ultimate players make their own calls. Exactly right, Kevin. And it is the spirit of the game that governs all actions on the field. It's a mutual respect between the players.
So self-officiating as Handler throws one down the field. Nick Handler from Stanford. Good disc movement, Kyle.
Handler is a great thrower, and he puts it in the end zone right there to Ezra Schiff for the score. The first one downwind for Stanford. Stanford goes up 1-0. Stanford really just slices through the Brownie in Motion defense on this point. Brown seems not to put up much of a fight. They score very easily. Ezra Schiff in the corner of the end zone, and now they're working their way upwind.
So grabbing the first spot on the scoreboard, Stanford with good momentum. A look back to the 2004 championship rounds, the men's semifinals, Stanford versus Colorado. They used the same propulsion devices then as they're using right now.
Two heavyweight college programs trading punches early.
Come on, pick your head.
Colorado in black, Stanford in white. These two teams really were matching each other point for most of the first half before Colorado stepped it up, making big plays like that one from Bo Kittredge. The CU fans were into this game, but Stanford was able to counter, matching Bo's huge play with some catches of their own. But in the end, Richter, Bo, and company were too much for Stanford, running away with the game 15-10 and on to the finals.
You know, we have 80 people show up in the fall for tryouts, which is really fun. I guess it's like that at a lot of other schools too, but you know, we look for people who are just natural athletes. You know, we have a few people who have played in high school, but what we really look for is people who are natural athletes, people who are competitive, people who are fast, because we can teach people how to throw. We can teach people how to play the game, but it's harder to teach speed. You know, and we go and try to work out and get faster, but what we really look for is speed.
Stanford, Brown, both great programs. Every year they have to recruit a lot of players, new players to the sport, teach them the skills, using their speed, and both of these teams are quite fast, Kevin.
Speed definitely a priority here in the open division. Stanford building success from success, a legendary run they've had in this sport of Ultimate since 1984.
Looks like an offensive foul downfield. Ben Wiseman with the disc. The players reset. Disc gets set, checked back in. Wiseman's a big handler for this Brown University Ultimate team. Toss to Will Arnold. Will Arnold with the big forehand downfield to Josh Zipperstein. Zipperstein with the clap catch in the end zone and the score. Now there's a speedy guy, Kevin.
Now, track star back in his early days, even today, I mean, he's running like a low 4.40, isn't he?
He is a fast guy. Ran track for Amherst Regional High School, played soccer for them. That Will Arnold to Josh Zipperstein connection is one they're going to use a lot.
So Stanford gets on the board first. Brown answers. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Corvallis, Oregon. We are in the midst of the men's semifinals. Ultimate, an exciting sport. If you're looking to get involved, visit www.upa.org to learn how to get started in your area. Kyle, take us through the brackets, how they got here.
Take a look at the bottom half of the bracket. Stanford defeating Georgia in a tight game 13-12. Brown over Washington 15-6. In the other semifinal action, Colorado has already beaten UC San Diego and awaits Brown in the finals.
When we last saw some action, it was 1-1, Stanford Brown all tied up, but there has been a scoring frenzy. Let's check out some of the highlights, Kyle.
Neil Mahoney with that upwind score for Brown brings it to 2-1 Brown. Stanford answers right back to make it 2-2 with the big upwinder to Herbert. The wind's starting to show its force here, affecting Brownian motion's upwind throws, and there's a big turnover. But Brown gets it right back, and Paul Vandenberg with the huge hammer to Alex Bowman. 3-2 Brown. Stanford with the goal line turnover, and Brown working in from close range. Dan MacArthur to Ben Wiseman. Stanford matching some of Brown's intensity. Handler with the downwind score, and that's where we're at now, 4-3, Kevin.
So going toe-to-toe, everybody in the mix, 7 different players have scored. Brown player MacArthur has 2 assists right now. A lot of people getting on the tally sheet. Of course, the rules of the game, you need 15 points to win by 2. Halftime begins when the first team gets to 8.
You can't run with the disc, and you score by catching in the opponent's end zone, and all calls are made by the players themselves. It's self-officiating. It's all governed by the spirit of the game, Kevin. Respect for each other, respect for your opponents.
Right now you see number 3 seed Brown with a score of 4, number 2 seed Stanford with a score of 3. Just to get the numbers worked out there on the scoreboard. We're at the center line of this field. This is Brown on offense. Right now you're looking at the handler dishing it back.
And Alex Bowman puts up a big backhand downfield. Doesn't look like there's a receiver there. And number 10, Robbie Cahill with the big block. Robbie Cahill, a big player for Stanford, a junior captain. It's not often that Stanford has junior captains. And Cahill picks the disc back up. Cahill, a big handler for Stanford University. The handlers are like the quarterbacks in Ultimate. They're the ones that move the disc. And then you have deeps or receivers who are your downfield players that catch the disc.
And a wide open downfielder right there, stepping up to a short time as the handler. The handlers catch up to him by running up the field and, of course, take over right now. A foul on the play. Looks like a hand foul.
Looks like there's a foul on number 25, Paul Vandenberg. Unlike in football, the handlers actually have to be receivers as well. The receivers have to be handlers. You have to throw and catch. You can't just do one or the other. And Stanford with the big throw downfield, and Dan MacArthur with the block.
So a very fluid team sport. Great action. Once the exchanges start to really fire off, this game is really lively right now. A big downwinder. Can Zipperstein get there?
Oh man, Zipperstein on his horse running that one down.
Now, we talked about him being fast. That was an amazing burst of speed at the end there.
Paul Vandenberg with the huge forehand gun. And I don't know if there's anyone else in the college game who could pull this one down. Look at this layout catch. That is amazing, Kevin.
The commitment there, and rightly so. The claim, the celebrated college player. Let's take a look at who is Zip.
Zipperstein, 1P. I started being called Zip at the place that I worked in high school, but not really widespread use until college. My high school was a very good team. I had said I was going to come out every year, and every year I didn't come out, and then senior year I came out and played.
Turn and dump the disc.
The thing that separates him from a lot of other great players, though, is his willingness to put in all the hard work, doing the little things on the field that people don't necessarily see, and then working real hard often.
At first, my mom didn't come out to tournaments because I couldn't talk to her. I ignored her basically during games, and I felt like it was going to distract me to worry about what she was thinking about. But after a little while, she came to understand how it was, and told me that it wasn't going to be a problem, and she knew that I had to do my thing. And so now having her out here and the rest of my family is great.
So once I realized how important this was to him, and that there was so much good about it, I was there. I'm there. And with it, he gets to be a wonderful human being and a great student and high dreams and aspirations. So it doesn't get much better than that, you know?
it's perfect. It's a club sport where we have the freedom to make a decision about when we want to practice, who we want our coach to be, which tournaments we want to go to. But it's as competitive as a varsity sport would be if Ultimate were a varsity sport. So it fills that need in my life, which is the best thing I do is play Ultimate.
A look there at Josh's sister Dory, an accomplished Ultimate player herself. Earlier we saw Fran Zipperstein also in attendance here at Crystal Lake Park here in Corvallis, Oregon. Brownie in motion up 5-3.
And Brown comes down with a straight up mark. That's a mark that doesn't allow throws straight downfield. It allows throws out to either side, as opposed to a forced forehand or a forced backhand mark.
And even more basic than that, the mark is really the defender, the man with the disc, the handler. And you'll see a difference between man-on-man defense and also some zone defense taking shape right now. Man-on-man with a poor throw or maybe just a bad catch, Kyle.
Yeah, Herbert over the top with a hammer. Looked like a high stall count. Dan MacArthur from Brown coming down with the block. Paul Vandenberg with the disc. Dishes off to Ben Wiseman.
And Brownie in motion in their own end zone. So they've got a lot of field to cover. Big forehand right there.
Neil Mahoney to his brother Colin Mahoney with the big forehand downfield. And Colin Mahoney to Will Arnold for the score.
Oh, they covered some ground real fast on that one.
The Mahoney brothers, big impact players for Brown. Colin Mahoney spraining his ankle earlier in the tournament, still able to track that one down.
The intensity among these two teams goes back quite a few years. In fact, the tournament history shows Stanford with 2 championships pretty well spread apart in '84 and '02. Brown with 1 championship in 2000 and the one to beat UC Santa Barbara with 6 wins, stringing them together, but not consecutive. Right now, it's the 2004 champions, Colorado Mama Bird, waiting to see who will meet them in the championship bout between these two teams. Surely Brownie in motion seems to have the advantage right now. Great play.
Brown is certainly playing well, and you got to start wondering if maybe the 2 hard games that Stanford has had to play to get here are affecting their legs. Brown cruising through this tournament. Stanford, on the other hand, has had 2 one-point games, one against Wisconsin and one against the University of Georgia.
Hey, I got 16. Hey, Sprung if he's there.
You can hear Coach Wicks there yelling some instructions to his players. Brown has a few set plays that they use off of stop discs. They're very simple, but they're enough to get the disc in play again. Will Arnold to Dan MacArthur. MacArthur calls the foul on Ben Kenigsberg. Brown about 15 yards outside their own end zone. MacArthur with a big backhand break to Paul Vandenberg. And Paul Vandenberg with the quick shot to Ben Sprung. Looks like there's a call downfield, perhaps a pick before the throw. And the disc goes back to Paul Vandenberg with the disc 2 yards outside the end zone. Disc gets checked in, finds Dan MacArthur. Dan MacArthur around to Ben Sprung again for the score. That is good fundamental goal line offense there from Brown University. Ben Sprung, the senior from Columbia High School, where Ultimate was started in 1968.
So the chance to become champion looking better and better for Brownie in motion. Brown University pulling away.
On the turn, we've got Paul Sprung and wrap around. The play is Neil to Collins. Listen for the cribber call. Hey, listen up. Listen for the cribber call. That means jacket.
Brown coach Nathan Wicks telling his team what he wants on offense going upwind. He wants them to put it deep to not let Stanford get the easy downwind score.
You ready to get into the action? The Ultimate Players Association is the largest ultimate frisbee organization in the world. By joining the UPA, you are automatically subscribed to the sport's official magazine, packed with tons of incredible photos and ways to get the most out of your game. Visit www.upa.org to learn more and find out how to start playing in your community. So while we're away, more scoring. This time, Stanford's turn.
Handler gets the upwind score for Stanford to bring it to 6-4. Brownie in motion. Stanford will be pulling downwind, hoping to get that downwind score on the board. Let's take a look at what we've got so far with this tournament. For all but 3 teams, the tournament's over. San Diego finishing tied for 3rd with the loser of this game. Georgia, Texas, Washington, Wisconsin tied for 5th with their quarterfinal losses.
And of course, Kyle, the winner of this game set to meet Colorado Mama Bird for the 2005 championship title.
And both of these teams really won it. Both teams lost in the 2004 UPA College Championships in the semifinals. One of them is going to go and advance to the finals to play Colorado Mama Bird here. Robbie Cahill with the downwind pull. Big Blady outside in backhand. Bounces. Picked up by Michael Vandenberg, the freshman, and up to his brother Paul. Brown looks like they're in a split stack offense, and Paul puts it deep to Zipperstein right off the bat. And Zipperstein going up with the grab over Cahill.
Speed and vertical height in that leap. That guy is all over this field, the prototype ultimate player.
Paul Vandenberg with the disc, looking for an out. Michael Vandenberg steps up, gets the disc, and a big forehand fake. Swings it around to Dan MacArthur. Foul downfield. Players work it out, and the disc will be checked back in by Mark Sherwood from Stanford. Dan MacArthur with the disc. Dan MacArthur with a forehand break to Josh Zipperstein. Zipperstein up to Reed Hopkins. And Reed Hopkins with the goal to Alexander Bowman.
Way to break the mark from Brown. Guy left the guy on the ground for a quick shot into the end zone.
Brown worked that one right up the break side of the field. Stanford was forcing backhand. Brown just kept throwing forehands. Stanford looks a little tired, and Brown looks a step fresher.
So the crowd's in full force here. This championship series winding down. Right now, Brown 7, Stanford 4. More action when we return. Welcome back to CSTV's coverage of the 2005 College Ultimate Championships. Brownie in motion versus Stanford, bloodthirsty, but Stanford has had a tough time here at these tournaments with 2 close games.
So I drink the pickle juice because it keeps my legs from cramping up. It's a really good potassium source. With 3 games in a day, you need to be fresh for all of them, and if you cramp up, you're not going to be effective.
So hardcore potassium intake, not doing much for his breath out there, but that could be another way to ditch your mark.
I've been drinking the pickle juice just for that, Kevin. It helps me out when I'm playing.
Seen a lot of intake going on the sides, drinking honey on the sidelines. These guys are serious about their endurance. This sport, very taxing. You've got to be incredibly fit to play at this level.
Nutrition plays a huge role in these players' performances in every game.
So we mentioned the tough battle that Stanford had to get here. 2 tight games wore them out. And Kyle, you mentioned before the break that Brownie in motion seems to have the quicker step.
Yes, you'll notice Stanford biting a little more on the mark. Brown, a lot more stable, a lot more balanced. They're running harder. And that kind of turnover is a turnover from exhaustion right there.
And in a dangerously close scoring position for Brownie in motion.
Dan MacArthur from Brown picks up the disc on the sideline about 30 yards out. This will take Brown to half if they put it in. Stanford's forced backhand down to Neil Mahoney. And Neil up to his brother Colin, 5 yards outside the end zone. And Colin Mahoney finds Will Arnold for half at 8-4 Brown. Brownie in motion's cutters getting open to the open side on every single cut without a defender near them. Stanford really needs to step up, dig deep down, and play some defense on that side. Colin Mahoney steps out easily. Will Arnold, his defender, is nowhere near him in the corner of the end zone.
Strong first half performance by the Brownie in motion. Coach Wicks, your team has dominated both sides of the field. We've heard it before. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think in the second half we're going to pull away because they had a tough quarterfinal game. We're going to be able to win with our legs in the second half, keep running them. They're going to make more and more unforced errors. We're going to win this game going away.
Nathan Wicks, an experienced coach, has 1 championship under his belt. He knows what he's talking about. Brown up at half, 8-4 over Stanford.
Welcome back to Corvallis, Oregon for the 2005 UPA College Ultimate Championships. Kevin Delaney along with Kyle Weisbrod. It's been an incredible first half.
Brown has really stepped up in this first half, opened the score up to 8-4 over Stanford University. Nick Handler from Stanford University with 2 goals on the game. Josh Dipperstein and Alex Bowman from Brown, both with 2 scores themselves. We're going to go down to the field with Kevin Delaney, who's with the Stanford coach, to find out what changes they need to make to contain the Brown offense.
Coach, how do you solve the riddle of Josh Dipperstein?
Well, right now he's beating us a couple of times with a deep game, but I think what we need to do is we have better marks on the line down here, so he can't get the perfect hucks up there. One-on-one battles, I still like our chances against him, but when he has a couple steps on us, it's real difficult.
So it's pretty common we've seen Dipperstein with a couple of steps. I mean, once he gets even a few inches, that guy is gone in a cloud of dust.
He is a speedy guy. If the throw's not right on target, if it hangs up there, he'll go up and grab it. Number 21, James Herbert with the pull from Stanford to start the second half.
And Stanford is in big trouble right now, down 4-8 against this talented Brownian motion team.
And Paul Vandenberg goes deep right off the bat to Josh Dipperstein. Dipperstein using his body, putting his body between his defender and the disc, and pulls it down against number 10, Robbie Cahill.
What a perfect display from Dipperstein, what we were just talking about. That guy is able to cover so much ground. Very smart tactics there.
Brown just isolated Dipperstein on the open side, had all the rest of their players and all the Stanford defenders on the left side of the field, and Zip isolated one-on-one with just about anybody is going to score.
Catch the game.
What is it?
It was easy. So it was the best one.
So making it look easy, Josh Dipperstein in control of this game, as is Brown, up 9 to Stanford's 4. Welcome back to Corvallis, Oregon. No need to visit City Hall. No need to have a judge determine who's the victor here on the field. Fans getting involved any way they can. Big sugar rush to keep them excited or sick. But that's life on the
soccer team until he quit this year. And Jared Lynn was the backup quarterback on the Brown soccer team until he quit this year. And Jared Lynn was the backup quarterback on the Brown University football team.
Costly turnover at a very crucial time for Bloodthirsty. Cannot let those grabs get away. That was in the fingers of the Bloodthirsty player. And once again, Brownian motion takes over.
And Zip puts the disc up to Neil Mahoney, scores at the corner. Neil Mahoney, graduated from Brown this year, senior, going to Stanford University next year for his PhD in economics. He's going to be playing for Stanford University next year.
Bringing some great experience across
soccer team until he quit this year. And Jared Lynn was the backup quarterback on the Brown University football team.
Costly turnover at a very crucial time for Bloodthirsty. Cannot let those grabs get away. That was in the fingers of the Bloodthirsty player. And once again, Brownian motion takes over.
And Zip puts the disc up to Neil Mahoney, scores at the corner. Neil Mahoney, graduated from Brown this year, senior, going to Stanford University next year for his PhD in economics. He's going to be playing for Stanford University next year.
Bringing some great experience across the country. Injured player earlier in this tournament. Danny Newman supports his team on the sides, looking a little dejected right now, obviously.
Newman, a big thrower for the Stanford team. His absence is certainly affecting the soccer team until he quit this year. And Jared Lynn was the backup quarterback on the Brown University football team.
Costly turnover at a very crucial time for Bloodthirsty. Cannot let those grabs get away. That was in the fingers of the Bloodthirsty player. And once again, Brownian motion takes over.
And Zip puts the disc up to Neil Mahoney, scores at the corner. Neil Mahoney, graduated from Brown this year, senior, going to Stanford University next year for his PhD in economics. He's going to be playing for Stanford University next year.
Bringing some great experience across the country. Injured player earlier in this tournament. Danny Newman supports his team on the sides, looking a little dejected right now, obviously.
Newman, a big thrower for the Stanford team. His absence is certainly affecting the team. They're not as able to get the big open throws as they would have been otherwise. It means that players like Cahill have to come back and touch the disc more.
Aren't going our way right now. It's just bounces that aren't going our way right now.
So there's a comment from our Stanford coach. Things not going their way. This game, 1 for the first team to get to 15. At 12-5, Stanford bloodthirsty, running out of time.
You know, a lot of times when it looks like the luck isn't going your team's way, it's simply because your team is tired. It takes hustle and hard work and energy to create good luck for your team, and Brown just seems to have a little more legs than Stanford at this point in the tournament. Josh Champagne on the mark for Brown University. Stanford working it down the field, slicing through Brown's defense. And Stanford to Swigert for the score to make it 12-6 Brown.
So a gasp of air from Stanford, showing they're still alive and not ready to give up.
Herbert here with the throw soccer team until he quit this year, and Jared Lynn was the backup quarterback on the Brown University football team.
Costly turnover at a very crucial time for Bloodthirsty. Cannot let those grabs get away. That was in the fingers of the Bloodthirsty player, and once again, Brownie in motion takes over.
And Zip puts the disc up to Neil Mahoney, scores at the corner. Neil Mahoney graduated from Brown this year, senior, going to Stanford University next year for his PhD in economics. He's going to be playing for Stanford University next year.
Bringing some great experience across the country. Injured player earlier in this tournament. Danny Newman supports his team on the sides, looking a little dejected right now, obviously.
Newman, a big thrower for the Stanford team. His absence is certainly affecting the team. They're not as able to get the big open throws as they would have been otherwise. It means that players like Cahill have to come back and touch the disc more.
It's just bounces that aren't going our way right now.
So there's a comment from our Stanford coach. Things not going their way. This game, 1 for the first team to get to 15. At 12-5, Stanford bloodthirsty, running out of time.
You know, a lot of times when it looks like the luck isn't going your team's way, it's simply because your team is tired. It takes hustle and hard work and energy to create good luck for your team, and Brown just seems to have a little more legs than Stanford at this point in the tournament. Josh Champagne on the mark for Brown University. Stanford working it down the field, slicing through Brown's defense. And Stanford to Swigert for the score to make it 12-6 Brown.
So a gasp of air from Stanford, showing they're still alive and not ready to give up.
Herbert here with the throw to Swigert in the corner.
This point right now. Stop them here, we're going to stop them on the next point, and we're going to roll. All right?
Ma'am!
Remain confident about that.
Ma'am!
So the sport of ultimate only as popular as the crowd enthusiasm behind it. As you can tell, it's not about all the athletes, it's about the party being here at the game too. You want to know if Ultimate's going to grow? Check it out.
We are rowdy and in college. Tell me about it.
So a grad student there, working on his English degree.
And number 10 from Stanford, Robbie Cahill with the pull. Stanford down 12-6 against Brownie in motion. Paul Vandenberg with the disc. Up to Josh Zipperstein. Zipperstein's established his deep game. Now he gets yardage underneath for big yards. Up to Reed Hopkins. Reed to Neil Mahoney. Brown's offense is super efficient right now. They're just working it down the field out of their center stack offense. That's one of 2 offenses that they use primarily, that and their split stack offense. Zip with the disc. Oh, and Paul Vandenberg can't hold on to it in the end zone. Stanford getting another opportunity to work the disc upwind here. This could be a big point for them. Getting an upwind break here could give them a little bit of momentum and get them back in this game.
Conditions still very tough. wind blowing about 25 miles an hour. And a cool breeze at that. The players are loving it. The fans a little chilly out on the sideline.
Jack Cooker with the turnover there for Stanford. They're showing a lot of exhaustion at this point. Michael Vandenberg with the disc in the middle of the field for Brown. Gives him a little shoulder shimmy, hits his brother Paul. Nice layout catch from Paul Vandenberg.
Brownie in motion on the verge of another score.
Oh, and Michael Vandenberg can't hold on to that one. And Stanford gets the disc again and puts it quickly. Mark Sherwood deep. But number 8, Henry Adams, can't come down with it, and Michael Vandenberg gets it back for Brown.
That upwind toss hovering in the air, allowing the defense to catch back up. Blown opportunity for Bloodthirsty.
And Brown is working back downwind again. Alex Bowman with the disc on the sideline, looks to his dump and calls a foul on the mark. Brown, like many of the top college teams, run a very efficient offense. If the count gets to 4 or 5, they look to their dump. Their dump is well spaced out, 10 to 15 yards away from the thrower. Allows him to, the dump to either run up the line or back to get the disc and reset the stall count, get a new 10 count. Paul Vandenberg with the disc to Reed Hopkins. Brown just working that open side. When they don't have the open side throw, they hit their dump and reset it to the other side of the field. Looks like another foul call on the bump on the mark from Jack Cooker on Paul Vandenberg. Paul Vandenberg, a senior from Paideia High School in Atlanta, Georgia. 4 of the players on the Brown University team are from Paideia High School. Disc is checked back in. Paul looks to Josh Zipperstein. And Zip with another score.
Eluding Doug Allen on that score, 13-6, Brown.
Brown's efficient, running full throttle right now.
Zipperstein, 4 goals, 2 assists. By far the playmaker from Brown University, but he's not alone in wanting to escape the team's fate last year, suffering a loss in the semifinals by the hand of Berkeley.
This UC Berkeley Brown semifinal game was one for the ages, with Zipperstein making great plays like that hammer catch from Paul Vandenberg, and this one off the D from Bart Watson. But in the end, Cal Berkeley had too many great players like Gabe Sunkia, George Mittendorf, Dan Hodges, and Bart Watson, and pulled away to win the game 15-13.
The experience of this game lingers on for Brown.
This year we're deeper than in past years, and the guys who came real close a couple years ago are the guys that are still playing now. So we're definitely much more experienced as a team. I think it's pretty much the same formula that's worked over the years though, which is pretty conservative offense, hard-nosed defense.
I'm so excited.
Brown 13, Stanford 6. The offensive weapons plentiful here for Brownie in motion. Stanford bloodthirsty. They have got to pull out some magic right here at Crystal Lake Park. They're going to need a miracle to overcome this deficit. Brown looking so strong.
James Herbert over the top to Nate Solon. Solon from Stanford down the line. And Nick Handler with the disc. And the break mark, backhand, nice throw.
Desperation in full force for Bloodthirsty. Good wheels from Handler. Nick Handler, that is.
And Stanford gets a goal with a sweet offensive throw to Josh Wiseman. Tim Morton-Hertz breaks the mark to Josh Wiseman to bring the score within 6. Brown 13, Stanford 7.
Can't stop the lefties.
Go, Stanford!
Welcome back to the 2005 UPA College Ultimate Championships. men's semifinal action. And scoring a necessity. Let's take a look at the quickest way.
Hi, my name is Grant Sukowski. I play for the UW Hodags, and I'm going to show you how to get the most out of your hucks. In Ultimate Frisbee, the huck is the quickest way to score. It's a long pass that goes all the way down the field, similar to a bomb in football. There are two different types of huck. There's a backhand huck, which is held like this, and then there's a forehand huck, which is held like this. I'm going to start by showing you how to throw the forehand huck. The most important thing about hucking with your forehand is to have both fingers in close to the rim because you're going to be applying a lot of force to the rim of the Frisbee. The second most important thing is when you're throwing the disc to step into your throw and come through it. The third most important thing, you want to, instead of having the Frisbee flat, you want to point the edge down. So if you throw it into wind, it's going to come and just flatten during its flight. This is how it's done. Now for the backhand huck, you want to have all four fingers underneath the rim of the Frisbee so you can put the most amount of power and snap on the disc. You also want to have your thumb on top to give the disc stability. When you throw the backhand, you want to curl your body back and then release all the power you've stored up using your hips and shoulders. You also want to point the disc down at the ground, something like this.
Now that is a nice huck.
Thanks to the players from the Wisconsin Hodags. We've seen a few hucks all downwind in today's windy conditions, and definitely seems like Zipperstein is on the receiving end of those hucks.
Zip is certainly busting open for a lot of hucks, and I wouldn't be surprised to see another one here at 13-7. Michael Vandenberg to Paul Vandenberg. Brown likes to start off their offense that way, and there's Zipperstein breaking deep. And Alex Bowman on the sideline to Zipperstein.
Covered 70 yards, real fast going downwind.
Brown just having their way with the Stanford defense at this point in the game. And Zipperstein with the forehand break around to Alex Bowman. Bowman to Reed Hopkins for the score in the corner. And that is picture perfect offense from Brown University. They're doing it right here at the end of this game.
So a big score to come within one of their semifinal title.
Brown's offense just looks efficient at this point, and that's going to be good because if they're getting ready to play in the finals, they're going to need to have as much energy as they can.
Fran Zipperstein standing right by the scoreboard. Very accurate indeed. 14-7, 1 point away from Brown joining Colorado Mama Bird in the finals. Brown ready for a pull to Stanford. And Brown throwing into the wind.
Number 20, Will Arnold with the pull upwind. Brown would love to score this one and win the game going away upwind. Number 10, Robbie Cahill with the disc, looking downfield. Finds Mark Sherwood. Sherwood with the disc. Looks to his dump, Warden Hurts.
Kyle, I would think it is definitely time for the big huck. They need quick scores in succession just to save their energy. Here goes one.
Oh, and it looks too far for Nick Handler to run down. Nick Handler's quick, but not that quick. And that's crushing for Stanford. They really don't want to be on defense right now. They want to control the disc and control the offensive tempo of this game. Brown with the disc is able to dictate the speed that Stanford has to play at, and Stanford wants to play a slow game, but they can't because Brown is running very hard. Ben Sprung with the disc around to Dan MacArthur. Nick Handler on the mark. Foul called on the mark.
Contact.
Yes, contact on the mark. It looked like Nick Handler gave a little bump to Dan MacArthur. Dan MacArthur called the foul. Nick Handler didn't contest. It's coming in on 0. Brown in their center stack offense. Dan MacArthur with some great faking and pivoting. And it looks like a downfield call, a pick in the middle of the stack. There's Zipperstein on the sideline, taking a breather, resting up if he needs to play one more offensive point.
And that point a few throws away for Brown. Their chance to join Colorado Montverde in